You might have thought this video was never coming out, but I finally gotten around to breaking down Alessandro Michieletto. And honestly, he's one of those players you feel like you watch all the time. You think you basically understand everything about him, but once you start looking at the details, there turns out to be way more interesting stuff than it first seemed. Previously, we talked about Alessandro Michieletto's biography, and now it's time to discuss his game. I'll say right away that I'm not claiming this is some expert opinion. Everything I say in this video is just my subjective take. At the time this video comes out, Alessandro is only 24 years old, and he's already gone through several transformations in his playing style. I even mentioned his attacking style in an old video where I talked about what the perfect outside hitter should look like. Early in his career, Alessandro made maximum use of his physical tools, choosing extremely logical zones to attack into, especially when he could do it over the block or carefully around it. He read the defender's positioning really well and picked the best areas. It was either the corner of a zone 5, a tip into zone 6, or a sharp cross-court hit from zone 4 into zone 4. Yes, it wasn't super flashy, but it was super effective. After that though, he started changing the structure of his game, adding more aggression to his attacks. And here I am not going to compare stats from different years. Visually, I just noticed for myself that his efficiency became lower. And no, I'm not saying opponents started scouting him better and he was forced to adjust. I'm saying that for some reason, he himself moved away from that style. And in the rare moments when he went back to it, you could see that it still worked. But now, after already going through several stages of a metamorphosis and transformation over all these long years, and let me remind you, he's only 24. He has put together the best version of himself. This version combines everything he has developed over the previous years. Tactical shots mixed with the powerful attacks. But now he has also added a lot of work off the blocker's hands, and with his physical profile, his tips sometimes look genuinely scary. Alright, let's move away from the abstract talk and get into something more detailed. And since we're talking about an outside hitter, let's start with reception. Like the vast majority of professional players, the Italian outside hitter has his own ritual before receiving serve. And Alessandro's is pretty simple. At first, he places his feet a bit wider than shoulder width, leans his body forward and keeps his hands on his thighs. After the server tosses the ball, Michieletto starts a slide forward movement, sets his feet very wide, makes a receiving motion with his arms, and then goes into direct contact with the ball. Sometimes you can see a small hop in the ritual, just to activate himself a bit more and be more ready for reception and movement. Some people might say that from such a wide stance it's pretty hard to get out quickly and move sharply somewhere. But I'll remind you that the Italian is over 210 centimeters tall, so he doesn't really need to move around that much. He can cover his whole responsibility zone simply with a lunge. His knee pads help him with that too, because he can drop sharply onto one knee without pain, which allows him to reach balls in reception with a minimal amount of movement and falling. Against serves that aren't too powerful, you can see the outside hitter trying to make the cleanest technical contact possible. He slightly lifts his shoulders and brings them a little forward by rounding the thoracic spine. And right at the moment of contact, he also slightly lowers his head. Thanks to this movement, he manages to increase the working area of his platform. This allows him to bring his arms together more tightly, reduce the number of uncontrolled rebounds, and also improve visual control during the ball's contact with his arms, so that whenever possible the ball lands on the right spot of his passing platform. We shouldn't forget that Alessandro started his path as a libero, so his reception skills were being built from early childhood. But even that didn't turn him into some elite defensive monster. Obviously, if there are comfortable rebounds or soft roll shots, the outside hitter will handle that successfully. But you'll rarely see Michieletto dig some absolutely insane ball. Unlike in reception, in defense he doesn't look quite as locked in and mobilized. Because of that, it creates the impression that he reacts very late to the approaching threat. Yes, the Italian volleyball player gets a lot of touches in defense, but far from all of them can be called successful. But the block is a completely different story. I'm sure you've already come across highlights of some crazy blocks from Alessandro more than once. There probably isn't much point in technically breaking down this element, because so much of it comes down specifically to his physical tools. I think a lot of attackers have nightmares about those huge arms that can cover a massive area. And the tricky part is that it's really hard to guess where his hands will eventually end up. It looks like you're attacking into an open zone, but for some reason you end up hitting straight into the hands of this sticky Italian. On top of that, his height and wingspan allow Michieletto to help successfully against middle attackers. Even if it doesn't always end with a tough block, it often leads to soft touches that can later help his team win the point. As much as Alessandro's block is a problem for the opponent's attackers, Michieletto's attack is a problem for the opponent's block. The fact that he is a left-handed outside hitter already gives the block and defense a headache, but an even bigger problem is the height from which the Italian outside hitter attacks. Yes, he's probably not the quickest or most adaptive player when it comes to running and adjusting to a not-so-comfortable set. Maybe that's why he doesn't use a full approach that often and frequently attacks from a standstill or off one step, but his height, reach and court vision allow him to find weak spots in the opponent's defense very skillfully. And as I mentioned earlier, the outside hitter has become much more confident in the battle at the net. He can push the ball under the blocker's hands, or simply tool the block. And if the set is also high enough, then it can simply be a tip over the block. If you imagine the height from which the ball drops straight down, it's not hard to understand what kind of problems it creates for players trying to pick those balls up. If we take the classic attacking options, he has three favorite zones: the space between zones 1 and 6, the corner of zone 5, or the sharp cross-court angle from zone 4 into zone 4. And the most surprising thing is that, as practice shows, it becomes easier for defenders when Alessandro beats the block by hitting over it. That gives them a better chance that the ball will end up in their hands. And even if they can't always organize a quality dig that sends the ball comfortably to the setter, it at least gives them a chance to continue the rally and try to fight for the point. The problems start when the ball catches the hands, because very often the rebound becomes completely unpredictable. That means the chances of saving the ball become significantly lower. So in matches you can often see the Italian outside hitter scoring points exactly this way. It all sounds pretty simple, but even if you roughly understand what your opponent is going to do, his physical advantage combined with his volleyball skills gives you absolutely no guarantee of success. If we talk about weaknesses in attack, then it's definitely the line direction. From the bunch of matches from this season that I rewatched for this breakdown, I saw only a few clear attempts to hit down the line, and far from all of them ended successfully. More often, you should expect a short tip in that direction, and the defenders understand that perfectly, shifting closer to the block in advance. It's clear that in all of his teams he carries the main load in attack, so you can hardly expect him to get much freedom in the front row. That's probably why the only time he really gets to enjoy attacking and get some moral satisfaction is when he's running the pipe. And I'd like to finish the breakdown of Alessandro Michieletto with his serve, which at one point helped him close out a lot of matches at the higher stages. Just like with reception, we'll start the breakdown with the ritual. And here there is even less of a clear sequence than before receiving serve. When he goes to the service zone, he might stand and wait by the end line until they give him the ball, or he might not wait and simply walk to the spot. Then he might just bounce the ball on the floor, he might tap it with his hitting hand, or he might do nothing at all and just keep walking. even when he turns around, there's no 100% pattern. He might also bounce the ball on the floor, then bring it up to his face, keep it at chest level, or hold it off to the side. If there is any kind of pattern, it's that he tosses with his right hand and serves with his left. Other than that, Michieletto doesn't really have some super polished ritual plan. In terms of directions, Alessandro has a very wide range here. Basically, you can expect the ball almost anywhere on the court. The only thing is that the ball is less likely to end up in the corner of Zone 1. In general, the Italian outside hitter most often tries to find the weakest target in reception and put a pressure on them. Yes, with a power serve, the ball may not always fly exactly where intended, but strategically the idea is very clear and understandable. And it's not always about the weakest passer on paper. He can also change his decision depending on the situation in the match. But if we're talking about maximum aggression, then most of his serves will fly into Zone 6, sometimes shifting towards Zone 5. But with short serves, things aren't that great. Basically, it's just a roll serve into Zone 6, and it very rarely brings a result. I'm sure it can work somewhere, but most of the time it doesn't make life that difficult for the opponent's passers. That's how I see Alessandro Michieletto's game. I really hope you enjoyed this breakdown, and that you'll not only drop a like and subscribe to the channel, but also share your detailed opinion in the comments on whether the Italian outside hitter can be considered the best in the world right now. If not, then who is your favorite? And make sure to write who I should make the next video about. As always, I'll be guided by the opinion of my favorite audience. And with you as usual was Nick. Love what you do and you will definitely succeed. See you soon. Bye.